Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so welcome to the MWBE Citizen Advisory Committee. I'll read a statement. Due to the Safer at Home order issued by Governor Cooper, members of the MWBE Citizen Advisory Committee are participating virtually. All members will vote by roll call. A member will be recognized, at which time the member will state his or her vote. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jakira for the roll call.
Thank you, Vice Chair Metz. So I'm going to call the roll for the MWBE Citizens Advisory Committee meeting being held today, December 21st, 2021 at 4:30. Vice Chair Leah Metz.
Present.
Committee Member Cassandra Brunson.
Present.
Committee Member Drew Gertzmeyer.
Here.
Committee Member Cornelius Graves. Committee Member Jordan Gwynn.
Here.
Committee Member Stephen Hemerick. And Committee Member Ethel Witt. And I would also like to acknowledge the city staff on the call, the Director of the Office of Business Inclusion, Ken Millett, and Hannah Hernandez, as well as Phil with the marketing department. And I'll turn it back over to you, Vice Chair Metz.
Great. Do we have a motion for approval of the agenda and of the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll make a
This is
motion.
Jordan. Okay, I second.
Okay, great.
All right, and I'll do the roll call vote. Vice Chair Metz
Yes.
and Drew Gertzmeyer.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes.
Cool. Back over to you.
All right, thank you. So we have two pre-construction good faith efforts to review today. The first pre-construction good faith effort review will be the Bellevue Recreation Center renovations, and Holden Building Construction submitted a bid and they were the low bidder for that particular project. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. So as I stated, we're going to review the Bellevue Recreation Center renovations, and Holden Building Company was the low bidder. The established MWBE participation goals were 14% minority and 8% women with women-owned businesses. Holden Building, they submitted 3.6 with minority-owned businesses and 9.5% with women-owned businesses. So the first letter, letter A. Oops, my apologies. Did a representative of your company attend the pre-solicitation or pre-bid meeting scheduled by the city to inform MWBE firms of contracting, subcontracting, and supply opportunities to review contractor requirements of complying with the program? And yes, Wilbur Holden did attend the pre-bid meeting on November the 10th. Are there any questions for letter A? Letter B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? The contractor must advertise in all three mediums to receive full value for this particular item, with 5 points being allocated for each medium. So they did advertise, as you can see here. Let me know if you need me to zoom in. They did advertise with the Winston-Salem Journal. And then they also did advertise with Construct Connect and Dodge Construction Network. Any questions regarding letter B?
Hey, Jakira, this is Cassandra. A couple of those I'm not familiar with, but do they actually meet the criteria that we've set by being a trade association for minority focus
So yeah,
or media?
correct. I would consider this as two different types of mediums. But I was made aware that I believe Construct Connect, I think they collaborated or joined with the Hispanic Contractors Network. So that may be considered too, since they're kind of tapped into that database, but there's no minority focused media really here with the three that's provided.
Okay, so no, not really, but okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Letter C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWB firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due to allow MWBE firms time to participate? Each solicitation shall include a specific description of the work to be subcontracted, location where bid documents can be reviewed, name of representative of the prime bidder to contact, and location, date, and time that the quotes are due. So here is just one of the many pages that Holding Building Company did submit. There's probably maybe 20 or so pages with the different trades broken out with the firms that they did contact. And as you can see here over to the right, there is a check that indicates whether or not the sub opened or if they had a response from them. And then, so bids were due December 2nd, and this solicitation was sent on November 15th. So this is 10 days before that the bids were due.
But this doesn't say whether they're MWBEs though. It just shows who they sent it to, but it doesn't specify. Is that they're not marked?
It says bidders by trade and group are hub, yeah, but it doesn't indicate whether they're M or W, but it does say that they're all hubs. So that would be both M's and W's. So the next slide here is a copy of the solicitation that was sent out. And this is the second page. Any questions regarding letter C? All right, we'll move on to letter D. Did you follow up initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty whether the MWBE firms are interested? They should include a phone log of follow-up calls made to confirm their interest. Although this does say telephone law, we have allowed them to submit electronic notification as well. So as you can see here, they submitted a follow-up log with notes indicating when they made the contact and whether or not the subcontractors would bid with them for this specific project. And again, they did provide several pages of the follow-up with the interest with the MWBE firms. Any questions for letter D? All right, we'll move on to letter E. How did your company identify and select portions of the work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation? They must provide copies of documentation where this information was included. And so here's a screenshot from their letter that was provided to MWBE firms with particular trades broken out. And they also have a note here that was included that the scopes of work can be broken down into economically feasible units in order to facilitate MWBE participation. Any questions for letter E? All right, letter F, explain how you provided interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, plans, and requirements of the contract. So included in their letters sent out to MWBE firms, they have a link where they can view the plans and specs, and they also say that they are available for review at their office. Any questions for letter F? Right. Letter G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting MWBEs as unqualified without sound reason based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities? So this is where the contractor is required to submit the subcontractor quote comparison form, indicating where they received quotes for the particular trades when the MWBE firm was not the lowest bidder. And so they did include the different trades. They also indicated the MWBE status of each sub that they received quotes from, along with the quote and whether or not they were the low bidder. And so that was included for termite treatment, demolition, utility, landscaping, concrete, masonry materials, masonry labor, joint sealants and waterproofing, flooring, painting, signage, athletic equipment, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. Also, the contractor did submit all of the quotes that were received by these particular firms as well. Any questions for letter G? Next is letter H. What services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office, available minority community organizations, minority contractors groups, local, state, and federal minority business assistant offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms. The contractor was required to provide a copy of this documentation, and they must utilize at least 2 agencies to receive full value for this particular item. They did include a copy of the correspondence between myself and Wilbur Holding, requesting a copy of the MWBE subcontractors that we utilize in the goal setting process. And so this is that documentation here.
So just the one.
Yes, so they only included 1, not 2 to receive the full value. Okay, letter I. How did your company provide assistance to an otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit, including waiving credit that is ordinarily required? Did your company assist minority firms in obtaining the same unit pricing with the bidders' suppliers in order to help minority firms establishing credit? So they must provide documentation of and/or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms on what type of assistance was available. A contractor can receive 10 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. So here you can see a copy that was of language that was pulled from their letter sent to MWBE firms, offering that if you need assistance obtaining the required bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, licenses, and joint pay agreements or insurance, please contact us. But there was no evidence of implementation included. Any questions for letter I? Next, letter J, how did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance for subcontractors? They must provide a copy, which can be included in their letter sent to MWBE firms, or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms on what type of assistance was available. The contractor can receive 10 points for offering and 15 points for implementation. So again, from the last item, that same paragraph here was included in their letter sent to MWBE firms, stating that they would offer assistance obtaining the required bonding, licenses, or insurance, and to contact them if they needed assistance. But no evidence of implementation was included. Any questions regarding letter J? Letter K, did your company negotiate a joint venture or partnership arrangement with minority firms to increase opportunities for minority participation when possible? There was no documentation submitted with this particular item. Letter L, did your company provide quick pay agreements and policies to enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? What procedures were initiated to fulfill this requirement, and how were the MWBE firms informed of this assistance? They must provide evidence of implementation from projects in the past 5 years to receive credit for implementation, and then they would receive 5 points for offering. So here, there is a quick pay agreement that Holden submitted a copy, but it does not indicate whether or not they utilize this with any MWBE firms for this project. They did offer here in their letter that quick payment terms are available for qualified companies. And then there's a small section here at the bottom of the screenshot. Holding building company will pay twice monthly on submission of qualified invoice. Any questions for letter L? So I'll stop sharing my screen. And Mr. Holding is on, so I'll let him in. Hello, Mr. Holding, can you hear me?
I can. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm filling in for Wilbur because Wilbur's traveling today, so I'm gonna try to help out any way I can.
Okay, thank you for joining us. So the committee has reviewed the good faith effort submitted by your company. And so if you would like to add any additional comments regarding your good faith effort submission, feel free to do so. And if not, the committee will ask you any questions if they have any.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I have nothing further to add.
Okay. So does anyone on the committee have any questions for Mr. Holden?
Yes, hey, this is Leah.
Hey, Leah.
Question on I, J, and K of the good faith effort.
Which one? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sure, it's I, J, and K. Those
I, J,
three.
and K.
Mm-hmm. On those, well, and I guess it's L, let's see, and L in there. Those multiples of those have points for implementation, like actually providing evidence of implementation. Have y'all worked with MWBEs in the past where you have either provided credit or capital or assistance in bonding or insurance that you would have evidence that you've utilized that?
Yes, we have worked with minorities and, you know, with bonding, you know, a lot of bond, you know, not really the bonding issue because, you know, a lot of our jobs are, we hold the bond, but we have helped out with capital and payments and loans and things like that. Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah, so what we're missing is actually seeing what that, when you've implemented that, like that paperwork is missing from this document.
Okay.
And so it's causing points to be lost because there's no evidence of that. You might have the evidence, but we're not seeing it.
Understood, and I can get that.
Okay.
And that was implementation of I, which is proposed assistant, J, and L also. Is that the other one?
Yes. And then on K, so K is joint venture or partnership agreement. And so that would be a copy of any documentation on that one, because that one y'all have zero.
Okay.
It's just that documentation that we're looking for to see.
Okay. Now, in any type of form or just on our letterhead, what we have done? I mean, does it matter how, what you would like to see, Leah?
I'm gonna defer to Jakira on that one.
Yes, so I think it's just helpful for future reference, but we're unable to allow additional submitting after the 24-hour period is up. But if you are ever required to submit another good faith effort in the future, it's important that the copies or documentation of implementation with your good faith effort.
Understood. We will, and we apologize for that, but I mean, we understand.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions for Mr. Holden?
Yeah, this is Cassandra, committee member Cassandra. Hi, Mr. Holden.
Good afternoon.
Hey, I'm looking at, same to you, good afternoon. Looking at F, explain how you provided interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, so on and so forth. Jakira, do you mind can you pull that one up, the evidence of that one up?
Hold on 1 second.
Real quick. I might have missed something. I will admit that with this, and that's why I'm asking her to share her screen to pull up that evidence again. But I want to make sure that I'm scoring properly, and then maybe also there's a follow-up question based on what I'm thinking she had up here. Let's see. It's coming for me.
Let's say a bid document review.
We have a link.
Okay, plans are available.
The plans for their office.
Oh, say that again. I'm sorry. It was breaking up.
They include in their letter to MWBE firms, they included a link to view the plan and specs. And they also said that they can be viewed at their office.
Okay, that's what I had a question about. So the letter to the MWBE firms, was that just the firms that you have worked with in the past, or how are you collecting your pool of, or your list of MWBEs who received this letter? So in the link.
Right, and so every MWBE that we've listed, no matter if we've worked with them before or not, gets the same document that has that link, or can come to our office, and our office address is on that same form also. So it doesn't matter if we know you.
How are you compiling? I guess what I'm asking is, how are you compiling your lists?
So we have a database. So we use a database that we have all our, we have all our subs, but if they're minority-based sub, MWBE or anything, we have that declared in that database. And we've used, and we, like, I work in Charlotte, so we have a whole, every MWBE that works with Charlotte is on that list, and it's denoted. And, you know, if that scope of work is being used, we send them the same invitation. But in Greensboro, you know, Winston-Salem, they have all the minorities separated, and they get the same form. And that's documented with our bid invites, all our bid invites that are included, like all the forms that, you know, he's followed up with on, you know, page, you know, it starts at page, let's see here, it's quite a bit of them.
Cassandra, this is what he's referring to. This is the initial letter that was sent, and I believe, Mr. Holden, you can clarify, this was sent to the firms that you were speaking of?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, that's correct.
And then you wanted me to go to where the follow-up is?
Right, and we have handwritten notes of everyone we followed up with, and what, you know, we try to follow up with as many as we can. Of course, you know,
Do you find that there's one particular area that you did not, were not able to receive bids from, or a particular industry that you were not? Because I'm thinking that if you use the MWBE or the Hub portal, you might be able to increase that or update it, make sure they are still active. So with your list, it has to come from a resource that vets these people, that says they're still active, or gives you more access to more of a variety. So the MWB, so what I was looking for is like, was that list compiled from like the MWBE hub or portal? Are you connected with that?
We absolutely are.
Or any minority portal that kind of, you know, vet them and have them certified and everything?
Yes, we are. We utilize the hub website quite a bit. We check all our bidders, you know, and anyone that gives us a bid, we check that hub website to make sure they are up to date and with their paperwork to be on that list. So yes, we do utilize hub, and we do utilize them for bid day, you know, for bid invitations and bid day. So we do utilize that quite a bit.
Okay, that answers the question. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Are there any additional questions for Mr. Holden? I believe there are no additional. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Holden. I will follow up with you in the upcoming next week, probably, or in the next coming days. So if you have any questions before then, feel free to contact me.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a great holiday. Thank you.
You as well.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Jakira, one quick thing before you move on. I have been kind of having technical difficulties, so I have volume on my phone, but I'm having to use my computer. Can you let me in on the computer? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let me see if it'll work.
Let me know if it's working before we go to the next one.
Okay. Gosh, please work. This is really difficult for me right now, doing it this way. So it's not working. I mean, we're fine. Just, can you leave it as it is? I know I'm on here twice, but I have to use my phone for volume. And then I need to use my computer for the screen so I can see these documents better.
Yes, I'll leave you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we'll move on to the pre-construction good faith effort for the Winston-Salem Fire Department Fire Station number 3. I'm going to share my screen here. So this is the pre-construction good faith effort for fire station number 3. KMD Construction was the lowest bidder for this fire station replacement project. The established MWBE project goals were 11% with minority-owned firms and 6% with women-owned firms. KMD Construction submitted goals at 4.1 with minority-owned firms and 7.7 with women-owned firms. So we'll start with letter A. Did a representative of your company attend the pre-solicitation or pre-bid meeting scheduled by the city to inform MWBE firms of contracting, subcontracting, and supply opportunities, and to review contractor requirements of complying with the program? So KMD Construction was at the pre-bid opening. Any questions for letter A? All right, letter B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? The contractor must advertise in all 3 mediums to receive full value for this item. So KMD provided a copy of the solicitation that they submitted with the NC Hub office. And this was the only medium that they submitted evidence for. Any questions for letter B?
So Shakira, that's just the one?
Correct. This is the only
Are those
documentation that they submitted with minority-focused media.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Letter C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days to allow MWBE firms time to participate? They must provide a copy of the solicitations, and each one should include a specific description of the work to be subcontracted, location where bid documents can be reviewed, name of the representative of the prime bidder to contact, location, date, and time. And so the contractor included a list here over to the right with the firms that they contacted to or sent the letter to. They sent the letter on November the 16th. And then here goes a copy of their letter. The bids were due on the 6th, so this does meet the 10-day requirement. And there's an additional page to the letter. Any questions for letter C? All right, letter D, did you follow up with the initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty whether the MWBE firms are interested? Please include a telephone log of follow-up calls you made to confirm interest. As I stated before, we have accepted email correspondence with firms. And so KMD did provide a copy of an email with a MWBE firm providing the email address is Polymer Coating Systems. And so they stated that they will not be submitting a quote for this project, but their affidavit D did include several copies of follow-ups with other firms. Any questions for letter D?
We had one of the speakers already say,
All right, move on to letter E. How did your company identify and select portions of work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation? Please provide a copy of the documentation where this information was included. And so this information with each of the scope broken down into the specific trades was included in their letters sent to MWBE firms. And it also has the date and time in which the firms should submit their quotes to them. Any questions for letter E? All right, letter F, explain how you provided interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, plans, and requirements of the contract. In their letter provided to MWBE firms, they did include a link to the Dropbox where the plans and specs can be reviewed, and they also have the location of their office in Salisbury where firms could come by and review the plans and specs there as well. Any questions for letter F? All right. Letter G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting MWBEs as unqualified without sound reason based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities? So this is where the contractor is required to submit the subcontractor quote comparison form for subcontracts where minority firms were not the lowest bidder, and provide copies of quotes received from all firms submitting quotes for the particular subcontract. So here is what they provided as the subcontractor supplier quote form, comparison form. It does not indicate the specific quote amount that was provided by the firms, but it does state who the firm was and whether or not they received a quote. And it also indicates their minority or woman-owned status.
I'm sorry, Jakira, are these the ones that I'm trying to figure out? Are these the ones that won the bid, or they just received the or received the quote?
These are the firms that they receive quotes from, but it does not include any non-MWBEs as well.
Thank you.
Are there any questions, additional questions for letter G? All right, letter H, what services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office, available minority community organizations, minority contractors groups, local, state, and federal minority business assistance offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms. They're required to submit documentation, and they must utilize 2 agencies to receive full value. For this particular item, they included the evidence of the letter that they were providing to be shared with MWBE firms to the NC Hub office. This is what they included for this letter. Any questions for letter H?
Kara, it's interesting that they provided that, but on their good faith effort documentation, they didn't they have no points. Like there's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Letter I, how did your company provide assistance to an otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit, including waiving credit that is ordinarily required? Did your company assist minority firms in obtaining the same unit pricing with the bidder suppliers in order to help minority firms in establishing credit? They must provide documentation, which can be included in a letter provided to MWBE firms, or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms on what type of assistance was available. So here is a screenshot from their letter provided to MWBE firms, stating that if you need assistance with obtaining bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, insurance, or joint pay agreements, please contact us. We will review your needs and direct you to the proper agencies. Any questions for letter I?
Okay, hey, Jakira, this is Cassandra.
Yes.
With this one, is it, I guess, I don't know, is it okay that they are referring them to, is it like they're referring them to outside agencies? Or is that what they do anyway?
It does, the good faith effort doesn't specifically state whether or not the contractor themselves are required to provide them assistance with, like the lines of credit. So it could be, I guess, interpreted as assistance with the contractor, or the contractor providing them with assistance to put them in contact with someone who helps with that.
Yeah, so for all that I have done, for all the reviews that I have been a part of, I've gotten the impression that the contractor themselves were actually providing, and this would be the first time it was, to me, that it's been worded this way, that they would direct them to, it sounds like a third-party agency. And so I guess I wouldn't really know. I guess I would like some conversation with my committee members about, what do you guys think of this? Is it full credits here, or should we be, does that responsibility fall on a contractor to make this happen for them because they are WBE certified? Because they could get rejected if it's, a third-party agency.
Right. Hey, Cassandra, this is Jordan. The way I view it is sometimes for some of these smaller MWBE firms, especially ones that are subcontractors, they just may not know or have the connections that general contractors or primaries have. And so I think a lot of times that is kind of what happens is if bonding or lines of credit or something of that nature is needed, they kind of bring the two parties together and in some cases sort of vouch for the smaller sub or the MWBE. So from my perspective, I would say this is full points for offering. But that's just how I'm interpreting the offer here, and as I read it. Now, I don't think I've seen points for implementation for this one, but I do think it's full points for offering.
Okay.
Yeah, and Cassandra, I agree with you that this is the first time I've seen that they're directly saying that they're directing to another agency. the other thing that I do find is interesting that on their good faith effort document that they turned in, they did not note any points for this one on their document. So I think it's worth us asking the question to them, right, about what are they doing, and have they worked with others? Have they worked with have they worked with MWBEs to actually do this themselves, and then to help MWBEs work with other agencies to get this? It's like a 3-part question in my mind.
Yeah. So so Jordan mentioned, like, if they were vouching for them, that's one thing that would give the MWBE the stronger stand to move forward and be able to do the job. But if they're just passing them off and saying, hey, go to this agency, see what they can do for you, then that's really not, a good faith effort to me.
Yeah, I think asking them the question on that, just to clarify.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't know to what extent is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To your point. Yep.
Okay. For that conversation helped me, and I guess we'll get our follow-up when they get on the line, and I'm ready for you to go to the next one if everyone else is.
Okay, thank you. Next item is letter J. How did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance, or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance for subcontractors? The contractor is required to provide a copy of any documentation and or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms on what type of assistance was available. The contractor can receive 10 points for offering and 15 points for implementation. So again, this is the same language provided from the other item, stating that they would provide assistance if needed, obtaining bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, insurance, or joint pay agreements, to contact them, and they will review your needs and direct you to the proper agencies. But no documentation was included for implementation. Any questions for letter J? Right. Letter K, did your company negotiate a joint venture or partnership arrangement with minority firms to increase opportunities for minority participation when possible? Please provide a copy of any documentation advising MWBE firms on what type of assistance was available, or outlining any steps taken to fulfill this requirement. They did include in their letter sent to MWBE firms that they would look at the possibility of a joint venture or partnership arrangement if appropriate, but there was no documentation submitted outlining any steps taken to fulfill the requirement of the joint venture or partnership arrangement. Any questions for letter K? All right, letter L, did your company provide quick payer agreements and policies to enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? What procedures were initiated to fulfill this requirement, and how were the MWBE firms informed of this assistance? The contractor is required to provide evidence of implementation from projects in the past 5 years to receive 10 points for implementation. And if they offered the assistance for quick pay, they can receive a total of 5 points. So here you'll see 3 screenshots from their affidavit D. So they offered quick pay agreements upon submission of a qualified invoice, and that's included in their letter to send to MWBE firms. They also have what appears to be the necessary steps that are required of what they considered as a qualified invoice to receive the quick pay. And then also here over to the right, there is, I'll zoom in for you. There is a copy of a joint agreement that they had with a firm for the Livingstone Shipment Building. And this was in August of 2020 with Capacity Glass Mart. But down here at the bottom, this agreement was not fully executed. So this is, I guess, just a copy of what they submitted. Any questions for letter L? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let the contractor in, but if you need me to pull it back up, I can reshare it for you all. So I'm going to let them in now. And Tammy Smith with CAMD Construction will be joining us. Hello, Tammy, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you for joining us this evening. The committee has reviewed your good faith effort submission. So if there's any additional comments that you would like to add regarding your submission, feel free to do so. And if not, I'll turn it over to the committee to ask any questions if they have any.
Okay, no, I'm good. I'm just regarding the couple that you said was not on the hub list. I don't need to do anything with those because going into the bid, I thought that they were minority, correct? That's all I got to say about that.
So Tammy is referring to the identification of minority participation form that she submitted with her bid. There were 3 firms that were identified on that firm that were not hub certified at the time of the bid opening. So they will not count towards her in participation for the project.
Thank you.
So I'll turn it over to the committee to ask any questions.
Okay.
I saw Jordan unmute herself. Jordan, did you have a question?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Still
okay.
thinking.
Okay, I just didn't want to jump on it too quickly. On I and J, you have a statement on your information that says, we will review your needs and direct you to the proper agencies. Can you tell us what does that mean? And if a MWBE were to approach you, like how would you go about assisting them?
Regarding their, see, I didn't do I, did I? It's otherwise qualified minority turns to need equipment. I will let them speak with Kyle, the owner, and he will talk to them about getting the proper paperwork or getting quotes for them for like equipment. Or he's already talked to the WIMCO, the masonry, about the payments. He needs quick pay agreement. So we've already discussed it with him. Everything will go through Kyle. He's the owner. Did that answer your question?
So is he providing the assistance or referring them out?
We will provide the assistance.
Okay, you will provide the assistance.
Yes.
And then have you worked with MWBs in the past to provide that assistance?
Yes, we've done it. I think I provided examples before.
on yet?
Yeah, I'm talking to him. We've provided assistance with that before. Do you know anybody in particular?
I'm sorry, what are you asking?
We provided assistance for that before, right? Do you know a particular short payment arrangement?
We've done it with a bunch of people, but obviously not on this job yet. They asking like who we've done it with in the past?
Yeah. We have done it in the past.
Yeah, I just, we'd have to go back in our records and find out who.
Yeah, that's,
This is Kyle. He's talking.
okay. That's what's missing from the documentation is the actual evidence of implementation. And so that's not within this documentation that we have. That's my line of
Well,
questioning.
we actually talked to subs that were bidding this job. We thought this had to do a quick payment agreement and policy for this job, not past jobs. And so we talked to our mason on this job who needs quick payments. I didn't understand it was for previous projects. I thought we had to, we had to negotiate with these people up front to get us a price.
I did not.
Yes.
An example in there. I apologize.
Well, we can get you a list of a few of them, if that's what you need.
So unfortunately, we can't accept the documentation after the 24-hour period. But as the questions that were asked, if you do have evidence for prior implementation of quick pay and you are required to submit a good faith effort for another city project, just be reminded that that documentation should be included with your good faith effort.
Gotcha.
So that's where Kyle spoke. Ray.
Right, yeah, but that's not a previous project.
Yeah.
That's where we screwed up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our mistake. I didn't realize it was previous projects because we could have easily done that. And we can get that to you if you need it. I know it's too late, but we can get it to you if you still want it.
It's the question is answered as yes, Kyle has done the assistance before with previous jobs. I just didn't put an example in there.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question on on letter K, the negotiated joint venture or partnership agreement. The documentation that you submitted said that it was a possibility. But is that something that you do with MWBEs?
We didn't do K.
Here you did, 10 points.
No, it goes right here.
Oh, I gotcha.
J, K. Let me get to my header. Did I have a K in there? J.
Tammy, are you able to see the screen? Or
I see you.
okay, so let me show you this is the item.
It went from J to L. That means I didn't do a K.
Yeah, we didn't claim the 10 points on K.
Oh. Went away.
It says that you will look at the possibility of joint venture. My question is, do you do them though? Maybe not necessarily for this project because you're still in the midst of it, but.
I never marked that one because.
Yeah, no, we haven't done any joint ventures with anybody on a public job.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So this is committee member Cassandra. Leah, before you go on, I just want to piggyback on that question real quick. the wording, I think, I also thought the same thing, Leah. It said possibility. So I wanted to know, same thing that she did, but now that we're having this discussion, do you have a process in place or procedure if an MWBE did present the need, or if there was an opportunity for joint venture? Do you have a process or procedure in place to do so?
We've done other joint ventures and used the AIA joint venture contract between two parties, building and remodeling a VA. I guess you're asking if I have a process. It's not a individual process. Basically, we just use an AIA joint venture contract.
Well, that's part of a process I would consider. So that does answer the question. If there's a where you say possibility, I think Leah and I just wanted to make sure that you were saying that you haven't, but we wanted to make sure that if it presented itself and there was a need for it, that you could meet it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Leah, that was my follow-up to your, okay.
Hello, hey, this is Jordan Gwen. Good evening. My question is around letter B on the good faith effort, affidavit D. So the question is around advertising, general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning the subcontracting opportunities on this job. It says that the contractor must advertise in all three mediums to receive full value for this item. I saw that there was some documentation included within the good faith effort that you submitted indicating advertisement in one medium. Were there any other advertising mediums that you all advertised in for in order to receive full credit for this item?
The only one I did was the hub site.
We're just talking about the rebid or the original bid and the rebid?
They mean that I need to advertise in newspapers or something.
Okay. For minority work.
Mm-hmm. And just my ITB and our website.
Okay, thank you.
And our invite to bid went to where? Send that to any papers or just, I mean, I know it goes to like thousands of people, but
The hub.
Went to all the hub contractors and to the hub sources.
Mm-hmm.
And the plan rooms.
Yes, that is right. I advertise in all the plan rooms.
Both local and state. Blue Book.
By square foot and everything.
Those are the items you probably should list out for them, so they know, where it's advertised at.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion and takeaway going forward. If you ever do have to submit another good faith effort documentation of that is helpful for the committee in order to see just how far the reach is just in trying to make a good faith effort to reach these minority and women-owned businesses.
I mean, just looking at her list, there's probably 20 plus plan rooms and bidding stations that we sent to advertise. We sent our invites to bid to.
I'm sorry, which list are you looking at? Which list should I be looking at?
Looking at her
To all the plan rooms.
our mailing list for the invites to bid. I don't know that you have did you send them a copy of that? Everyone we invited?
Just a minority.
I guess. So, yeah, there's probably, well, I can tell you exactly how many. Let's see, that's 902 through
21.
19, yeah. 19 different agencies we sent it to.
And this is committee member Cassandra again. Can you tell us what a plan room is?
Right, so say if you take construction.com, it's where subcontractors, both minority and regular subcontractors, subscribe to, and contractors subscribe to see what projects are bidding. And of course, it's a great way for us contractors to get the bid out, the bid information out to all the different sub.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
Oh.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, evidently we got muted somehow. Did you guys hear any of that?
I think it left off that it's a place where minority and non-MWBEs can review the bids.
Correct. Well, they go.
Like Blue Book. That's a.
Yeah, Blue Book, construction.com, CDC, Dodge Reports. They're all agencies that advertise
For us.
for the owner, for the architects, for subcontractors, and for contractors, the projects that are out to bid.
Understood. Thank you.
And we can send you that list if you'd like. Invites to bid nowadays are all done basically electronically. There's very few paper advertisements anymore. All these agencies, they used to publish books that you'd see, or you'd have that to copy and send in to you guys to show that it was advertised. But everything now is electronic, so the only thing that you get paper-wise nowadays is if you put it in the newspaper, and nobody reads the newspaper anymore. The best way to get the word out is through these electronic sites.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions from the committee members?
I don't have any.
From the committee members, we're not a committee member.
I thought she said 4.
Well, all right, seeing that there are none, thank you for joining us this evening, Tammy, and I will follow up with you in the next few days regarding the good faith effort results.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang up now.
Okay, so that ends the good faith effort review for the Fire Station 3 project. And so I will need the score submitted by tomorrow, Wednesday, December 22nd by 5 p.m. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then I'll turn it back over to Vice Chair Metz.
So actually, I'm going to defer it back to you on the consideration of changing the time for the meetings.
So yes, so thank you, Vice Chair Metz. So there is an additional item on the agenda for the committee to consider moving the meeting time from 4:30 to 4 o'clock p.m. And so the meetings would run from 4 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. I think when there is a packed agenda, the meetings can sometimes run a little late. And I know that the committee members have personal commitments, and I want to be sensitive to those. So I would entertain a motion for the committee to either discuss or approve the committee meeting time being moved to 4 o'clock.
This is Jordan. I move we discuss the movement of the committee meeting time.
Okay. So I'll open the floor up to the committee for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, that's nothing to debate from my end. I don't have any conflicts. I think that should work for my schedule, but is there anyone else that has any issues with that?
Works fine for me.
I'm good with that.
Okay, I think we're ready
Committee
to vote then.
Cassandra. Oh, okay.
Yep, and I'm good with it as well. It's just good to know if it would work for all of us or not. So is there a motion to move the meetings to 4 p.m. on our designated days?
This is Jordan. I move that we move the meetings to 4 p.m.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Cassandra. I second the motion.
Great, thank you. And
And I'll
then,
do a roll call vote. So we have Vice Chair Leah Metz
yes.
and Committee Member Drew Gertzmeyer.
Yes.
So that motion passes, and I would like to thank you all for considering and agreeing, or I guess approving to move the meeting time to 4 o'clock.
Welcome. Thanks for offering it. I didn't realize that was an option. So always good to have that. And if there's nothing else good for the order, I would say that we're in adjournment. Do we need a motion and a second on that?
We can, yes.
Okay. Anybody want a motion?
I'll make a motion to close or adjourn the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone, and thank you for joining us.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Kira.
Thank you for putting up with my technical difficulties today, everyone.